People tell us every week that our information has helped save their life. If you agree that this is helpful information, please like, share, and most of all, subscribe, because nothing makes a channel like subscriptions.
Dwight Baldwin. Hi, Dr. Brewer. You've mentioned some B complex brands. I looked them up and some of the vitamin B levels are very high. Any concerns? So let me go back and provide a little context, Dwight, for other folks. One of the most common times that you see discussion of vitamin B complex is when you're talking about the methylated vitamin B complex. Now, why would you talk about methylated vitamin B complex? Well, it has to do with people that are poor methylators. And it depends on who you listen to. There's a couple of guys, that's all they ever talk about. On the other hand, if you listen to Z-Dog MD, he'll say, yeah, poor methylation exists, but it makes absolutely no difference. I don't agree with either group. I mean, we've demonstrated that. We've shown the pictures of people's eyeballs, their retina, when taking some methylated B complex versus not, and you get visible improvement. Now, why would Z-Dog not see any difference? He's a hospitalist. He's seeing patients 2 to 4 weeks at most and 2 or 3 days, usually, in the ICU. And no, once you're in an ICU and your time frame for making it through that medical challenge is managed in terms of days, even hours, sometimes weeks, no, methylation is not going to be a big deal. On the other hand, there's a lot more to life than methylation. Is it real, and what is it? You know, it gets back to some other really basic things. If we get back up to 50,000 feet, there are multiple mechanisms and theories about aging, like David Sinclair talking more recently about the information theory of aging. And if you have interest in that, me going down that bunny hole, ask a question about it. There are multiple different mechanisms for aging that he discusses. Diabetes, he brings up the information theory, which is a very good mechanism. But ever since the 50s and 60s, you've seen the mitochondrial theory of aging. Now, what has that got to do with Dwight's question about vitamin B complex? So the mitochondria are the furnaces of the cells. They are where we have the fire going on that helps give us 36 ATP for every 6 carbon glucose molecule, and whatever else. You know, you got 3 carbon things that get put in there, amino acids get put in there, etc. But it's the furnace. Well, what does a furnace do? And what would engineers or chemists or mechanics call that process? They'd call it oxidation or rust, combining with oxygen. How do you put that fire out? Well, with water, or with oxidation, you do it with reduction. You know, the chemists would call that reduction. At the end of the day, reduction is adding hydrogen back. Well, the body doesn't exactly do it that way. The human body doesn't add just a hydrogen, it adds a methyl group. So the way to protect us, our cells, from the ravages of aging, I'm 65, so I doubt that I've got a significant number of mitochondria that are actually 65 years old. But imagine a 65-year-old furnace. It's just going to have holes in it, and, you know, with smoke coming out of it and burning embers sticking out, etc. How does our body douse that? So that helps you to start understanding the term methylation, at least. So here's the next question. What does methylation have to do with vitamin B complexes? So these methyl groups are actually stored in methylated B complex. So the B vitamins do a whole lot of different things. One of those is carrying methyl groups for this process to help us control the, quote, controlled burn associated with oxidation or routine mitochondrial function. So we do need proper methylation. Now let's go back and talk about methylators, that term. It's really clear when you look at genetics that some of us don't methylate as well as others. And there are 3 major SNPs, or nucleotide variations, polymorphisms variations, in other words, genetic variations. I have 2 of the 3. So I actually, my personal, and I know this, by the way, because I used to work one of the premier human genetics labs in Tennessee. I got my information about myself for free because I was working for the lab. I'm a poor methylator. So what should you do if you're a poor methylator? First of all, should you get that genetic test? Well, you can. It's not that easily obtained. And the reality is, I don't routinely recommend it. If somebody comes in and they've got some variations on labs, which we can talk about later, what I recommend is they just go ahead and get Methylated B Complex. Just bypass all the testing, bypass a bunch of the other stuff, and just get a Methylated B Complex. Now, all of that was context. And again, Dwight, thank you. You asked a good question, which helped me get into an important scientific topic, especially often beat to death on YouTube and other internet means. Now, do you get into significant risk? As you'll see, Dwight's right. The B levels in some of those B complexes are clearly higher than the adult recommendations. What do you call it? IADR, International Adult Dietary Recommendations. And a lot of those same people that talk about how poor methylation is the worst thing in life and fixing your methylation problem is going to cure everything, which I obviously don't agree with. But a lot of those same people would say, oh, you take too much of the B vitamins and you're going to have headaches and other health problems. I do think that those risks tend to be overblown. You know, I was talking with another healthcare provider who, like me, had done a stint of his career in toxicology. And we were talking about people and their over-evaluation of risks in some areas, under-evaluation in others. And, you know, we were saying, look, a lot of us signed up for life. And you may not have made that original choice, but you still make that choice every day. And the bottom line is life does have some risk. The reality is the risks associated with hypervitaminosis in the B category tend to be overblown. One of the most significant one is B3 or niacin. But again, most of what I've heard associated with B complex vitamins and the dosages that you're talking about, Dwight, I tend to accept that risk for somebody who's a poor methylator. If you don't have poor methylation, you don't need to be talking about that anyway.